right, good morning, everybody. It's good to be back in Tampa yet again. I feel like I basically live down here, Rita. This morning, we're announcing that we are launching a criminal investigation into OpenAI and ChatGPT, and will be sending criminal subpoenas to OpenAI probably right now. As you know, a couple weeks ago, we announced that we had begun an investigation. For months now, we've been looking at several harms that Floridians, Americans have been suffering as a result of ChatGPT. We've seen increases in self-harm and suicides by kids using this platform. We have seen individuals use this platform to engage in criminal activity, such as child pornography. And then most recently, as we announced a couple weeks ago, we have been looking into the recent FSU shooting and that shooter's communications with ChatGPT. Now, that communication and our review of that communication has revealed that a criminal investigation is necessary. Technology, AI, is supposed to support mankind. It is supposed to help mankind. It is supposed to advance mankind, not end it. And unfortunately, what we've seen in our initial review is that ChatGPT offered significant advice to the shooter before he committed such heinous crimes. The communication between the shooter and ChatGPT revealed that the chatbot advised the shooter on what type of gun to use, on which ammo went with which gun, on whether or not a gun would be useful in short range. ChatGPT advised the shooter on what time of day would be appropriate for the shooting to interact with more people, and where on campus would be the place to encounter a higher population. My prosecutors have looked at this, and they've told me if it was a person on the other end of that screen, we would be charging them with murder. Now, Florida law states that anyone who aids, abets, or counsels someone in the commission of a crime, and that crime is committed or attempted, is a principal in the first degree. So if that bot were a person, they would be charged with a principal in first-degree murder. Now, of course, ChatGPT is not a person, but that does not absolve our office, my prosecution team, of our duty to investigate whether or not there is criminal culpability here for a corporation. And of course, there's nothing new about corporations being held liable for criminal conduct. Just look today at the sentencing of Purdue Pharma in New Jersey. But we recognize that here with AI, we are venturing into uncharted territory. But we need to know whether or not OpenAI has criminal liability. As you know, Florida has already taken significant action to combat crimes committed using AI. Last December, our prosecutors secured a 135-year prison sentence for a predator that possessed child sex abuse material, much of which was AI generated. On March 17th, in another case against a child predator, we announced 100 criminal charges, which included 46 counts of possession of AI generated child sexual abuse material. That individual now faces over 1,000 years in Florida's Department of Corrections. Last month, on March 31st, I joined Governor DeSantis in signing HB 1159, which increased the penalties for using AI to create child sex abuse material. Again, technology, AI, is supposed to help and support mankind, not lead to its demise. So today we will be issuing subpoenas, the first of which will seek information between March 1, 2024 and April 17, 2026, looking at all policies and internal training materials regarding user threats of harm to others on the platform. All policies and internal materials regarding user threats of harm to self, all policies and training materials regarding cooperation with law enforcement, including policies for reporting of possible past, present, and future crimes. We'll also be looking if multiple policies were in place during this time period, how they may have changed and all policies and dates of change surrounding these events. And I'm sure there's going to be much more to come as our review is ongoing. So I've said it before, if this were a person on the other end of the screen, we would be charging them with murder. Just because this is a chatbot and AI does not mean that there is not criminal culpability. So we're going to look at who knew what, designed what, or should have known what. And if it is clear that individuals knew that this type of dangerous behavior might take place, that these types of unfortunate, tragic events might take place, and nevertheless still turned to profit, still allowed this business to operate, then people need to be held accountable. Now, OpenAI has indicated that they believe improvements and changes need to be made. I hope they're right. I hope they're right. We cannot have AI bots that are advising people on how to kill others. That is wrong, and that is dangerous. I'm a big believer in limited government. I believe government should only interfere in business activities when you have significant harm to our people. This is that. So I appreciate it. We'll have more updates soon. I'm sure there will be questions about more details on the nature of these investigations, and I won't be able to answer them at this time, given the sensitivity of a criminal investigation, but we will provide updates as we have them. I'm grateful to be joined today by two stalwarts here in our Florida criminal justice team, Mark Glass, Commissioner of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. We look forward to working with the Commissioner in his team in this investigation, using their cyber and forensic data experts. Also with me here is Rita Peters, our Special Counselor, Defender of Children, and I was going to say Slayer, I can't probably say that, but Prosecutor of Child Predators, who does not give out plea deals. So I will let each of them say a few words here, starting with Commissioner Glass.
Thank you, General. I'm FDLE Commissioner Mark Glass, and General, I just want to say thank you for bringing this to attention, this enduring threat that we have on our society. Artificial intelligence is built by man. Man is fallible. Man makes mistakes. So you just heard the General talk about why does he have to, sum it up, why does he have to go through a lawsuit or have to go after criminal prosecution for a company that's run by man, instead of them just paying attention and securing and watching after our most vulnerable, knowing what the algorithms they put in place can do, instead of just sitting back and going, well, I can't do anything about it. It's its own artificial intelligence. It can do what it wants to. You can put disclaimers on it. You can put banners across it. We do it for cigarettes. We do it for 21 years of age not to be able to drink alcohol, because we know what the ramifications are, causing cancer or DUIs. We do that on everything we do. McDonald's even puts it on their coffee cups. It may burn you. Well, why, when this person is looking up and searching for that, why is there not banners and algorithms coming out when you hit certain things that there's help that can be had for this child? Or a phone number, a hotline, something that they can talk to, someone. Just stop the chain of events from happening. That is the responsibility of every person here in this room. That's a responsibility for every person that owns a business, to do your very best to protect those who can't protect themselves. We've seen AI develop from videos, voice over IPs, everything that you can think of. They can take this conversation we're doing right now, put it on AI right now, and have him, the General, myself, and Rita saying something totally different, mimicking us as we're doing this, to talk about the total 180 opposite of what we're here to talk about. That can happen real quickly. So why are we not putting in protections for our children? Why are we not doing that to help? I can tell you with FDLE, your Florida special agents will help Rita and the General to investigate this, and we will give you everything we have, General. And Rita, you got it at your beck and call. Whatever you need, we'll do to ensure that this type of stuff doesn't happen. We've seen deep fakes. We've seen attacks on our seniors. We can see that they'll take your own family's voice if they're doing it right, and have it change, and AI can make that voice manipulate, and then have the senior to give their thing they're giving their child money, or they think the kid is a captive or held ransom. They can do that real quickly and clear out for our seniors. They can do it to children. They're already doing it. We already seen one deep fake that happened, and I think there's a lawsuit that happened recently where a child was talking to a GPT. It's for bots, and he killed himself. So I believe you are held responsible for the things you create. And it's okay if you make a mistake. But as the generals here in this conference here, we're just talking to you, is make a change. Be proactive. Come in and say, hey, this is what we like to do to add to protect our citizens and protect the people of the state of Florida, protect our users, no matter where they're at, to ensure this doesn't happen again. So, General, Florida Department of Law Enforcement and your Florida Special Agents are here, and we'll stand by to help where we need to. Rita.
Yeah, as Rita here knows, you know, the child pornography aspect of this is also very significant. We've seen people trying to create, generate, or otherwise share and disseminate child pornography using AI technologies. Again, you know, generating AI porn is a crime. That is a serious crime in Florida, and an app that's being facilitating of crimes needs to be held responsible. There is liability there. So again, we have the FSU situation, which is serious. We've been looking at other national security risks where personal data is given over to China and our enemies. Obviously, we have the self-harm situation with a lot of young people, and the CSAM is toxic. It's horrific. So, Rita, I'll let you speak.
Thank you. Good morning. I have the privilege to stand here as special counsel to General Uthmeyer to speak on an issue that is a rapidly evolving threat to our children. It is used to sexually exploit them and to create non-consensual sexual images of real people. I've spent more than 25 years prosecuting sex crimes, human trafficking, and crimes against children. And what we are seeing now is fundamentally different than anything that I have ever encountered before. Artificial intelligence is not just an investigative challenge. It is being deliberately weaponized by predators and child exploiters who manufacture abuse, target victims who never were physically touched, and scale these crimes at a speed and volume we have never seen. Florida, like other states, is experiencing a rapid and dangerous surge in AI-driven child sexual abuse material and deep fake exploitation, and it requires a direct and forceful response. I want to be very clear, as the General mentioned, technology itself is not the problem, as every major advancement in history has moved society forward, and artificial intelligence has the capacity to improve so much of our lives. It improves public safety, it strengthens investigations, assists in healthcare, assists in security, emergency responses, and health risks. It assists in decision making, as well as helps first responders with greater speed and direction. But at the same time, this very powerful tool carries the same reality when it falls into the wrong hands, and it is used to exploit our state's most vulnerable. Predators and child exploiters and those who profit from the abuse are using AI to target children and to target women in ways that are calculated, scalable, and very harmful. This conduct is not victimless because every image, every video, and every manipulated likeness represents harm to a very real person. When a child's face is used to create sexual content, that child is exploited. When a woman's identity is used to fabricate explicit images that are shared with her employer, her family, or her community, the harm, the humiliation, and the fear are very, very real. The law must treat these acts as real harm, and fortunately in Florida it does. Predators are taking ordinary photographs of children from social media, school websites, youth sports pages, even church directories, and feeding those images into AI tools that generate this sexual conduct. They are training AI systems on existing child sexual abuse material, and using those systems, they produce endless new images, multiplying the harm and the overwhelming of the victimization to our children. They're creating entirely synthetic children to fuel the demand, to normalize exploitation, and to expand a market that needs to be shut down. They're using artificial intelligence to commit sextortion by generating fake explicit images and threatening to distribute them unless a child sends them money or real images. They're using this technology against adults by taking a single photograph and turning it into a weapon of harassment, coercion, and humiliation. The scale of this threat is expanding rapidly, and reports to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children involving AI-generated sexual abuse material have surged by unrelenting proportions in just 1 year. The conduct is not theoretical because it is happening all around us, in our schools, in our communities, in our churches, and across the state of Florida. The profile of both the offenders and the victims is broader than we ever expected, and anyone with an image online is a potential target. But Florida is not standing still, and we are aggressively pursuing those that are responsible for these crimes. Our state was one of the first in the country to take this issue head on when our statutes were amended just a few years ago to criminalize this conduct. And just this past session, as the Attorney General indicated, our state passed legislation to enhance those laws and penalties. The use of AI will not shield the wrongdoers, but it will enhance their culpability. Anyone who creates, possesses, distributes, or profits from this material will be identified, charged, and prosecuted aggressively. Along with that, however, we must hold these platforms that host these bots, that host this technology, to a higher standard, because the platforms developing and deploying these tools have a responsibility to implement meaningful standards that include proactive detection systems, reporting requirements, and barriers that prevent the creation of exploitive content. Companies that fail to act responsibly are enabling the harm, and that failure will not be ignored, and nor will they evade scrutiny by the authorities. Florida is leading in confronting this threat through coordinated efforts through the Office of Statewide Prosecution, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, local law enforcement, federal partners, and our Internet Crimes Against Children task forces around the state. We're using advanced digital forensic tools to identify AI-generated material and trace it back to those that are responsible. And we are advancing legal strategies and policies to address these emerging technologies. While technology will continue to evolve, those that use these tactics will also evolve their manners. Florida will continue to lead in our response. We are not a safe harbor for these predators, child exploiters, or anyone who uses artificial intelligence to target, abuse, or humiliate another human being. The consequences will be real, they will be severe, and as you heard, they will be enforced without hesitation. Thank you.
So we will investigate, we will prosecute to the fullest. That's our motto here in Florida. Where there is criminal wrongdoing, we will hold people accountable. In addition to the criminal investigation, our civil inquiry will continue. Look, where you have companies that knowingly engage in behavior that results in significant harms, there is liability. So we will be continuing our civil investigation, subpoenas forthcoming, and we'll see where that goes, but I expect there will be legal action to commence. I suspect that when we're talking to some of these companies, we're going to get a response that there was no design. They certainly didn't know this was going to happen, and there's machine learning, and the intelligence bot learned on its own and did this on its own. Let that sink in for a minute. That's pretty scary. If a human being can't control the technology it's created such that it cannot prevent criminal activity from taking place, that's a scary situation. So I do believe there needs to be oversight, there needs to be regulation. I'm glad our legislature is going to be looking at child protection efforts related to AI, and you better believe that I will be looking at harms and fighting for our consumers, our families, and our children every single day. So thanks for being here. I'm in a tight crunch, but I wasn't able to answer questions last time, so I will answer a couple questions.
A couple questions for you. One is, given the nature
Well, I think that's the ultimate question. I mean, we will certainly be looking at company personnel and officials that were active in the design, that are active in the regulation of this technology, that are active in the internal policies and guidelines. We're at the beginning, so I don't know what the intentions of design were. I don't know what people knew and at what time, but I hope that we are able to get those answers, and I think those will help build out our investigation, and we'll see if there is criminal liability under Florida statutes.
Is AI giving people ideas that they wouldn't have been able to get otherwise? We've certainly seen hundreds of school shootings and other horrible events happen without AI. Are you going to be able to prove that without AI, particular things wouldn't have happened?
Sure. I mean, if I could prove things today, we'd be doing something a little more serious than launching an investigation. But I can tell you from the initial back and forth communications that we've revealed, the shooter appears to have formulated his plan based on this conversation. He's talking about suicides. He's clearly depressed. He's talking about a desire to get national news, media. And then he starts asking, well, if I do this, if I do this, if I do this, will it generate press? And the ChatGPT bot is literally walking him through this analysis. So, based on initial review, it does look an awful lot like he developed this plan during and following a lot of the back and forth feedback, which is very concerning.
General, when it comes to the NFL commissioner not saying that he's going to remove the Rooney Rule and all of that, what is your next step? Because you promised action.
Yeah, I told them that they could get back to me by May 1. I don't think it's May 1 yet, so we'll see what they say. Another question? Yes, sir.
AI are delivered by internet company. Are those companies liable for?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
These AI are delivered by internet companies. Are those companies liable?
If there's an internet service or network, well, I mean, here, this is novel. This is not a human being talking to, at least based on the initial face of the review. But here you have an application that's giving advice, that's providing information that looks like advice in real time. Looking at pictures of guns. The shooter's providing pictures, helping select which option might be, most useful for his needs. So I think there's a big difference between an internet provider, a cell phone, and an application like this that is using actual intelligence to provide what appears to be practical advice on how to carry out a school shooting. That's wrong.
In general, you also talked about how, previously, how you will not enforce certain state laws because you deem them unconstitutional.
This is a pretty big topic this morning. You don't want to talk about, one of the most serious things facing our kids. All right, go ahead.
So when it comes to you not enforcing certain state law, some are asking why don't you go through the courts and let them make that determination or work with lawmakers to have them tweak state law?
Sure. I, like other officials, constitutional officers, I take an oath. I put up my hand when I took this job, and I swore to uphold our United States Constitution. My duty is to the Constitution. I didn't write it. Some pretty smart guys did. It's withstood the test of time, and I think their implementation of institutions and the separation of powers has been key to protecting, your liberties. So I stand by the Constitution, and where there is a question of constitutionality, where our laws, and we've had several Florida laws on the books that the courts, including our United States Supreme Court, have declared are unconstitutional, I'm bound by the Constitution.
Sir, in some ways, do you think this was kind of blaming the tool instead of like the mental health, and was kind of like blaming the object or using AI to commit a crime instead of addressing like the mental health aspect of it? Obviously, this guy's not all there.
Yeah, this individual clearly had challenges, but where you have an intelligent bot providing advice, having a back and forth conversation, discussing strategy on how to carry out a heinous mass shooting murder where 3 people lost their lives, that's more than somebody just Googling the word school shooting on a cell phone. That's very different. I mean, I hope that people at home recognize this difference. Again, if it was a person We're looking at two sides of the conversation. If one of these is a person, we're charging him today, and he's going away for a long time. Now, because it's a company, does that absolve them of criminal liability? This is a novel question. I recognize that, but I think we, as law enforcement, as the chief legal officer of Florida, I have a duty to launch a criminal investigation and to see where human beings may have been involved in the design, management, and operation of this application sufficient to warrant criminal liability. So, thank you.
Is this another argument that the state would make or that you would make against the idea of having these headquarters in our local communities? Obviously, there's a fight happening in Sebring, one in Citrus County. This is a very hot topic for people. I mean, is this yet another caution about allowing these folks to set up shop in our state?
Sure, I'm not as familiar with the local issue you're talking about. I know there's a question about power generation as it relates to the power of these technologies, and I know there's various different concepts in how this power is supplied and generated. I'm going to keep my legal hat on and really focus on legal liability and the platforms themselves, where we do see, I mean, it is without question there's criminal activity taking place using these applications, and our investigation will reveal whether or not we believe there's human culpability involved. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.